Congratulations on your new film, The Moogai.
Thank
Thanks, man.
you.
You know what? We love these type of stories. We love these horror movies. It's always a guilty pleasure on a Friday or Saturday night. But you know what, John? Let me throw that first question to you. Where the original idea came from for The Moogai?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a very real fear that we still have. Like me and my missus, we got a bunch of grandkids, and when they were born in the town, the hospital in the next town over, the nurses still sort of keep a close eye on them, and we're very wary of a judgment being made and then somebody trying to come and say, oh, well, you know, we need to take these children because they're not being looked after in one way or another. So in a lot of ways, that kind of comes from a real fear. And, you wouldn't think people would still be um, uh, have that fear in 2025, but nonetheless, it's still there.
Well said. Sherry or Shari?
Shari.
Shari, my
Yeah.
apologies.
Oh,
So,
good.
uh, so tell us what initially drew you that you wanted to be a part of this project because I checked your filmography. You've been in a lot of diverse projects in the past.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I've been very fortunate to do a broad range of things as an actor, but the when the short came across, my agents, the email arrived in my inbox. It was like, oh my God, firstly, anything that Jon does, I like count me in. Jon and I've been, we've been very, very lucky to work with each other for over 10 years. But then I was like I'd never done horror before, and I was always like, well, I wonder if this will make it easier to watch horror when you get to sit on the other side of it and know what the blood is made of or what the makeup, for the creature looks like and things like that. So I was super keen to get into the horror genre and test myself in that way, and also hope that it made watching horror a little bit easier at home because I knew all the tricks.
So does it make watching horror easier now since you know how the sausage has been made?
So much. So much. I'm like, oh, I know what's happening on the other side of the camera there. I don't have to be scared. But then, that's like the thing is, you just sit alone with your head for 5 minutes in the dark and it all just can start rising to the top again. And suddenly you're terrified of something that you thought you knew how to process.
John, when you're crafting this story about an Aboriginal story here with the haunt, can you tell us about the term Moogai that you actually use in this film? Is it according to legend like some kind of boogeyman, or is it because I googled it, it said boogeyman, ghost, or even like a white man in some certain parts.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is like a boogeyman for Banjalang language, and it's used in a context of like don't go over to that place, so because there's a Moogai over there, but so it's very much sort of a place based sort of boogeyman. It's not like oh go to sleep now or the Moogai will get you. It's more like you're safe here, but don't go there.
Mm.
And I think part of that comes from the history in Australia too of it's not actually saying white people are the Mugai, but it's saying there's white people there who will take you, so stay here.
Mm.
Don't be seen by don't be seen by this. So it's about place in many
Mhm.
ways.
Well said. Shari, tell us about getting into the mental state of this character, Sarah, in this film, because you go through these emotional up and down and acting on stuff that other characters don't see.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I think as a woman, as an Aboriginal woman, it's certainly, every Aboriginal woman I know to a degree understands what it's like to feel like um, people aren't believing you or taking you seriously when you are talking about, whether it's the way you experience racism in Australia, or the way you experience healthcare, or the way you experience, misogyny, or any of those things. So there's really, it was easy in that way to access Sarah's frustration. But then I guess it felt like once we got in and strapped in, it was quite relentless. For 6 weeks, it was the hardest I'd had to work as an actor. And it was kind of like once I entered this space, this psychological space, I didn't want to come out of it, because it felt like it would be scarier to go back in. So it actually felt safer to stay in I describe it as a steel cable being pulled more taut and more taut. And if I had let go to kind of return to, normal life on Friday night or Saturday night or something, it was going to make it so much harder to come back on Monday. So in a way, there was a safety in entering this prolonged, sustained period of dark psyche. Yeah.
Absolutely. It seems like it. And Jon, one of the things that we love about this movie is the creature feature. Tell us about the creature look that you wanted to create, because I could close my eyes now and I could still picture that Moogai, because that would terrify me for nights and days if I ever see one.
I mean, look, it's definitely a movie monster. It's definitely influenced by other movie monsters. One of them was Darkness in Legend, in Tom Cruise's film Legend, the character that Tim Curry plays. One of them was a face of The Thing in John Carpenter's The Thing, and the other two were Riff Raff out of Rocky Horror Picture Show, and the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So there was all these elements of stuff in there, but he had long hands, and he's got sort of claws and stuff, because he can grab it, or it's not doesn't really have gender. It can grab children and stuff, but also Paul, the actor who played the Moogai, his movements are so unhuman. He can just do things with his body that just give you chills when you watch him. Like even when we were in rehearsal, and we were practicing stuff, he'd do things that I found deeply unsettling. And he was saying, "What about this? What about that?" I was like, "Save it all for the set, because I don't need that nightmare fuel in my head."
I don't want to see that again.
Yeah. So there's a lot of design stuff in there, but he just brought it to life.
So Shari, it seems like, but just by your facial expressions, it was terrifying to see this in real life, huh?
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite things about it is that the weight, the majority of them bringing the Moogai to life was practical. It was a human body, and seeing an actor take that on, and just like Jon said, like Paul, he's a contortionist, and to see a body move in ways that there's no context for, like you're not used to seeing someone's shoulder blade do that, or their spine do that, and then he's in all this incredible transformational makeup. And then there's just a slight, like, I mean, I don't know, I wasn't in the edit, but the slightest sort of CGI to just bring other little things to life. I thought it was terrifying. The hands, the long fingers freaked me out, because I've heard ghost stories as a kid growing up as an Aboriginal kid. We hear these are real stories that we grow up with. These are real creatures that we are told that are going to come and get us in the night if we don't act right. So yeah, it all works for me.
Now, of course, besides the feature creature in this film, they always say never to work with kids, but you had to work with the baby in this film. Can you tell us about the challenges of that? Because I don't know how you direct and act with the baby.
The baby, there was two babies, and they were both like peaceful little Buddhas, man.
It was wild. Yeah.
They just they were way more settled than most of the babies I see, and they didn't really take a lot of settling down.
Oh,
But you know, Shari may have got so much experience with cousins and family and stuff too that you know that was probably a part of it. I think you
yeah.
settled them down as much as, or not up. They didn't get upset. They never got to a certain level.
Yeah, they really, it was yeah, I think we were spoilt for our first, I mean, for my first go working with literal 3-month-old babies, these are brand new. They were chill as it's like they knew that every adult around them was stressed, had to carry this like tension. So they were like, oh, well, we'll just let them do that and we'll just sleep. And there were moments, gorgeous moments, the camera's on the baby and the baby smiles at the exact right time. And it was like, oh, perfect, like absolutely perfect. They were just, yeah, they were gorgeous.
Well, this is wonderful. Well, let me wrap it up with one last question. I always like to ask this to horror directors, is because there's always a debate in the industry between practical and CGI, and you used both in this film. Can Jon tell me which side are you on and why?
Or practical as much as possible, and then maybe CGI it up a little bit. I just think there's just like Shari said, there's just something to be said for being able to put your hands on certain things. The fire was practical too.
Mm.
Most of the stuff on on the Moogai itself, that was all practical, and then we digitally manipulated some of the top face so that it moved and stuff. But otherwise, it was all practical. And it just, if you can find that happy medium, which is, I guess, probably, I'm going to say like 75% practical, then things feel real, but they just, I don't know if we'll ever, oh, look, AI will probably kill us all, but at some point it's going to get good enough. But I don't think it's there yet. I think it's still practicality
No.
is where it is.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly works for Shari here. That's for certain because I watch this and I don't think I could ever eat eggs again.
Oh my
Cracking
gosh.
them.
Yeah, that's a great example of it. Like people in there with these little, wires controlling these tiny little embryos. Like there's no acting because you're seeing it. You don't have to kind of do the imaginative. I am very thankful for the non-practical snakes because that's a huge phobia of mine. But I think there's something about, I think it's a generational thing too. Like, we all got to grow up with movies where practical was like, that's all we had. So it's kind of, there's
Mm.
this like little barrier or something between when something is fully CGI, you just kind of can't access it as much or something. Yeah.
Well said. Well, this is one terrifying movie for the Mugai. So thank you both for speaking to us about the film. Everyone needs to check it out and watch this in the dark. That's for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks, man.
you. Thank you very much.